welcome to Breakfast Central on a Friday. They say thank God it's Friday, and every Friday I have mixed feelings. It's bittersweet. Sweet because the weekend is here and we get to rest after a long week, and then bitter because I don't get to interact with our regular viewers, people like Mokwe Chukwemeka, like St. Johnson. I don't get to see Olive during the weekend. I don't get to, interact with all of you. So that's just the sad side of it. I'm hoping management is watching so that they can extend Breakfast Central to 7 days a week.
Back to sender.
I love this job.
Back to sender. Holy Ghost fire. Anyway, good morning and thank you for joining us this morning. Thank God it's Friday, my favorite day of the week without, what's that word? Without what now? Now, wow. Without any argument. Friday is my favorite day of the week.
Okay.
You're welcome to Breakfast Central. Thank you for joining us. For the next 3 hours, we're taking you on a tour around Nigeria, looking at some of the biggest political stories. And I won't be doing this alone. My name is Oliver Modi, you sing Benga Borowa, and it's time for you to meet the third legend on Breakfast Central.
The actor, Chiwete Ejiofor.
Okay, no. Okay, well, I'm an actor, yes, but not Chiwete Ejiofor. My name is Chiwete Oyema. It feels so good to be here yet again. Second day on my loan spell. I'm really enjoying it. And of course, the big I was talking about him not really liking the weekend because he doesn't have time to interact with.
I don't do what
How about
I
you join them on Breakfast Extra tomorrow?
I agree.
How about
In
that?
fact, they should move him.
If it's not Panadol, it's not the same. As long as Johansson, Olive, if you agree to join us weekends, I'll do it.
No.
That'll be too much.
I mean,
we had a place at the table yesterday, so...
Ooh, how was that?
The table will be too much for every other person. That was really explosive. I think Benga is in the best position to answer that. I got a clip from
This show
that
is not about advertising other people's show.
Wow.
No, it's not. It's a new Central show. What do you mean? Let me call it my glory. Let me call it my glory.
Guys, you know what is very interesting about today?
What is it?
Today makes it 1 month to my birthday.
So
Let the whole world know.
And how's that news?
It's important.
Anyway, you're special. By the way, you're looking very radiant and
Thank you
beautiful
very much.
this morning.
See that Benga, she's looking very rich, so I hope we will get our weekend money from her.
But I hope, I really wish you could do a catwalk so they can, our viewers don't get to enjoy what we enjoy here. See the full look.
The shoes, everything.
Your belt, I mean, the renewed hope belts.
Which one is the renewed hope belt?
I mean, government said we should tighten our belt, and you are wearing this belt that is, yes.
Okay. This is what the government was talking about.
Yes.
So
Olive is literally
this is the belt.
tightening our belt.
This is the belt. We shouldn't complain as
That's part of the renewed hope agenda.
Please.
Okay,
Everyone,
it's time for us to, we'll cancel everything we said. This is the
we're
starting
now.
Yeah, we're just warming up.
So good morning and welcome to Breakfast Central. Let's start with updates regarding what's happening in Nigeria's political space. And this time around, we're looking at insecurity.
Yes, so Chief Sunday Igboho, more popularly known as Sunday Igboho, who has stepped into the ongoing crisis in Oyo State in response to the abduction of school children and their teachers. Igboho and his team have reportedly deployed drones to comb the vast Old Oyo National Park. The aerial surveillance was aimed at locating the victims and assisting ongoing rescue missions within the forest reserve. Now, this move comes amid heightened anxiety over the safety of the abducted pupils, with residents and community leaders rallying behind Igboho's grassroots security activism. Mixed reactions have trailed his intervention, with some saying his involvement in the search and rescue mission shows the growing frustration among locals who feel abandoned by conventional security structures, and it highlights the increasing reliance on non-state actors to confront the menace of the kidnapping in Southwest. Take a look.
So àwọn kan máa dúró síbi bíi so that tí bá ní kí drone yẹn padà ibi ló máa padà wá.
There you have it, Sunday Igboho and his team. They call themselves Iru Ekun. Benga, can you interpret what that means?
Tail of a lion.
Tail of a lion.
Iruekun.
Okay, that's my group, right? Okay.
You know what happens when you pull the tail of a lion?
Oh, anger.
I don't think you will
wanna
even
be
be
there.
alive to
To tell the story,
to tell-
actually, you won't.
Interesting. But I think it's good to see things like this. But also, at the end of the day, it's also like I feel it's like a slap in the face of Nigerian military. If someone who's a non-state actor can even afford to get a drone to go into the bush to at least search for these people, or search for the children and the teachers who have been abducted. We're looking at day 42 now. Day 42,
46.
46,
I think, yeah.
46,
Wow.
yeah. Day 46 now in the bush. And I'm just wondering and hoping that at the end of the day, right now, I really don't care who's going to get the children and the teachers out. Whoever can do it, just get the job done, and then we'll take it from there.
I mean, for me, it's a double-edged sword. Number one, you don't want to jeopardize ongoing rescue operations. And I'm sure, I mean, this is more, you're doing it with cameras and all of that. The Nigerian Air Force and Army and those that are engaging in rescue effort, I'm sure they do have drones and different platforms, but they've not been successful. And if you recall from the sad video that one of the teachers did in the aftermath of the beheading of the principal, she said they should not try that, of the maths teacher rather, that she said they should not try that thing they did a previous day. So I guess they were trying to stage a rescue operation, and then as a result, the terrorists were trying to send a lesson to the security operatives, and that's why they went ahead to behead the maths teacher. So watching this, I mean, this is in conjunction with Nigerian police, because I could see that police intelligence rescue team vest on. So you have regular policemen and members of Iruekun. I just hope they don't go complicate things, and then you have a situation where those hostages might be caught in the crossfire. And also there are questions of legality. Under what authority is he doing this?
Community policing. This is not state
Has he been registered?
But he's not. We only know of Amotekun. We don't know of Iruekun.
Maybe he's been registered. I mean, if the state had a problem with him, they would have shut him down.
Can I wake up tomorrow and just carry a bunch of guys together in the name of security, start moving around with arms and weapons?
I think what he tells
the
us
risk. And also, like Chiwetel says, is I mean, it's an indictment to the government, that breakdown of authority, that people are resorting to self-help because they haven't been able to rescue those kids, and people feel helpless. So you get help from anywhere help comes from.
All right. I think you both have said it all. It's just to say that this is a major indictment on the government, the federal government, the state government, the inability to rescue those children and their teachers who have been held in kidnappers' den since the 15th day of May 2026. Today is the 26th day of June, and they've been in captivity for that long. It is when the government has failed to do what it needs to do that we see individuals jumping in to quote-unquote save the day. I do not know what Sunday Igboho is doing, or if he does have the facilities to ensure that the citizens are being released. But Nigerians have been pushed to a point of desperation where it would seem that any opportunity to get answers to their questions, they would take whatever opportunity this is. And yesterday, I want to go back to a conversation we had yesterday. In this conversation, we had a guest who was alluding to the fact that state police will not work if citizens don't play a part, that the community has a huge role to play in terms of being able to do surveillance and communicating to the police, that in fact some of these citizens liaise with the terrorists themselves. And whilst I quite agree, I went back to the fact that a number of these citizens have been forced to return to their captors because the government has failed them. It's Stockholm Syndrome, where you start to sympathize with your captors. You've been in captivity for so long that being in bondage is all that you know. So again, the government has a role to play in ensuring that these citizens are reunited with their families, and we do whatever we need to do, whatever it takes that needs to be done to ensure that they get there. There was also a video of Sunday Igboho warning certain people in a community, Fulani community, telling them that he gave them an ultimatum. I think it's the traditional ruler of Igboho land, Oba Joel Olawuwo. He gave them a 2-hour deadline for release of the victims. There was a release that happened, and then there were celebrations, and people are wondering, did he have anything to do with it? The police are coming out to say Sunday Igboho did not have anything to do with it. So what we're seeing with these multiple security, now it's becoming factions.
Outfits.
Multiple security outfits is because there is a failure of a central one. And this is where the conversation about state police comes in. With the Senate having passed this, we're waiting for the assent by 2/3 majority of the various state houses of assembly, and then the assent by the president. If this happens, then we can come into the conversation of saying, governors, what are you doing to ensure the security of your citizens? And who knows, maybe they will now find a way to work with the informal security outfits.
In waiting for that, I don't think we have time for that right now, because if you look at the whole process of state policing, we're going to get to a point where, of course, they have to. Two-thirds of State House of Assemblies have to agree to that. Then, of course, the governors have to bring out a budget for it, recruitment and all of that. So it's going to take a longer time.
Yeah,
I'm looking at state policing. Maybe we'll start to see the effects of state policing from maybe next year earliest.
So once the bill has been, the president puts his assent on it, all the states' houses of assembly ratify it, it will take a while for it to kick off. And then it depends on the urgency and the political will of the individual states.
Yeah.
And how much they also have to spare. Because the way things are already, they seem stretched, or we're not feeling the effect of...
Even when they are getting extra FAC allocation?
When
they'll tell you that's not how it works. They have to go sort in the budget, we have to work on it. Exactly.
You have to kit them, you have to house them, you have to feed them, you have to pay allowances, you have to buy equipment, you have to communication gadgets, they have to be mobile. You need multiple platforms also, the sorts of weapons they would carry. So it's a huge task, and they have to do all of that alone. And some of the state governors are even struggling to pay salaries. And one state governor actually reduced the allowance of street sweepers from 15,000 naira to 10,000.
15,000 naira to 10,000. What happened to minimum wage?
That's a different conversation.
On YouTube, Michael Zu says Sunday Igboho is more likely to rescue these students than the suspects' complicit Nigerian security. My only fear is that the students have been shared and kept in different locations beyond Oyo State. We don't know. We don't have enough information here. Thank you very much, Mr. Jensen, and thank you to our YouTube audience. Good morning. We're streaming live on YouTube via News Central TV Live, so please head on and drop your comments there. But let's see what Nigerians are saying on X about the story.
This one is from Ogbeni Tobzid. Says, this is what the Nigerian police NG rather supposed to be doing, but it's been handled by the citizens. I hope you rise to the task and start doing the job you are hired for. Obatala's son says, this is exactly what I'm talking about. God bless everyone who helped INEC introduce technology surveillance into fighting terrorism across Yoruba land. K-Soft says, stop creating more awareness to the public. The kidnappers are also online, and it will help them in changing location. Woto_CBN says, all this thing no be within una supposed to dey put for media. It will just be silent mission until una succeed.
All to show workers.
Sadiq Soliu says, you don't need all these things. You work smartly and quietly. Hope you know they are putting the lives of those people in bandit captivity in serious danger.
My thoughts exactly. They should have been more discreet. These are security issues. It's not a TikTok challenge with the lives of people.
All right, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll take comments from YouTube, and then we'll go into another update regarding something that happened from EndSARS, a really sad one. We'll be right back. You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're still looking at wake-up conversations. We've just had the conversation about Sunday Igboho and the role he may be playing or not playing with INEC in terms of ensuring security in Oyo State. But let's move to a major breakthrough, which is quite tragic. This breakthrough occurred in the tragic case of 20-year-old intern journalist Pelumi Onifade, who was arrested in October 2020 while covering the EndSARS protest in Lagos. A Lagos coroner's inquest has officially revealed that a DNA test using samples provided by Pelumi's mother has confirmed a match with an unidentified body deposited at an Ikorodu mortuary shortly after his disappearance. The confirmation comes after years of delays, including the destruction of initial DNA records during the 2020 unrest. The family's legal counsel is now demanding an immediate autopsy to determine the exact cause of death, as the case stands adjourned until next month, July. That's, I think, 7th of July or thereabout. And if you recall, Balumi made a video that went viral. It was a video that went viral implicating a politician. I don't know if we have the video that went viral in that case. All right. But 6 years later, I shudder to think about the trauma that his family have gone through. The idea that the world went on. We had EndSARS. Certain people lost their lives as we know it. The likes of DJ Switch, who had to leave the country, or wherever she is, we don't even know, because she had a thriving career as a DJ in Nigeria, and all of a sudden, all of that was put on pause because of the EndSARS. EndSARS is one of the sorest things I think our generation has encountered, because the way in which EndSARS, I think the hardest part about EndSARS was the fact that they were almost gaslighting us to believe that we didn't see what we saw. The fact that people came out to say that the videos we were seeing, the gunshots we were hearing, they were saying it was Photoshop, that it was green screen, that live strip. I think that's the saddest part about it.
The rubber bullet.
The fact that they looked at us in the face and tried to lie to us and gaslight us and make us think that we were mad, or we were imagining the things we were hearing and the videos we were seeing on Instagram Live, that they thought that they could talk to people, young people, and tell us that that Instagram Live was doctored. How do you doctor an Instagram Live? Are we...
And it was that reaction. It was when the government decided to go to one of the most peaceful protest venues where people cleaned after themselves, where Nigerians youths were very organized at the Lekki Toll Plaza. It was the aftermath of the shooting that led to a chain reaction of looting and chaos across the city. That was the trigger. If they didn't go there that night to shoot innocent people, we wouldn't have seen the riots. We wouldn't have seen the chain of events that snowballed into this. And
there's one question that was asked since then till today. Correct me if that question has been answered. Who gave the order? Has that question been answered till today?
It's not been answered, but I think asking that question, we all know what the answer is.
Yeah.
We know who the
I don't know.
chief of the armed forces is.
I don't know.
That's just what it is. The army would, yes, we heard that the army claimed that they were invited by the governor, but we know who should be held responsible if soldiers, go out.
Yeah, there's a chain of command.
The chain of command, and we know who the chief of the commander-in-chief, was at that time. And sadly, as at that time, it was Buhari who's...
in the aftermath of this, the panel of inquiry, I mean, EndSARS, the SARS, as it was known, doesn't exist anymore, but there's still cases of police brutality, extrajudicial killing. So it's almost like we didn't really learn lessons from this. And it's really sad that the panels of inquiry that were set up in different states, I think it was only Lagos State that paid some compensation, that saw it to a logical conclusion. Others just stopped showing for sit-ins, and it's just really a mess.
We also need to ask another question, which is, aside, likes of Bellumi, likes of DJ Switch, there are probably other people who...
Many others.
Many others that we don't even know. And it was even what was being said then that is quite shocking, because then they were saying things like, so where are the bodies? If you said we killed people, where are the bodies? Where are they? And it was quite, funny, because we saw what happened. As to where the bodies are, that's not the point. You shot at people, innocent Nigerian citizens. So let's start from there. And I'm just hoping that with Belumi's case now, we can maybe start to have that conversation yet again as to what really happened.
And my heart really goes out to his family. It's a terrible way to lose one's loved ones, and I hope this brings some measure of closure.
No, it doesn't bring a measure of closure. What it does...
at least they know...
Yeah, they know what happened to him. And I'm really glad that the parents have insisted to carry out an autopsy on the body to know exactly what killed him. Because this boy's body was checked into... He was sent as a representative or an intern with WOA TV to cover the EndSARS protest. And after that, it was reported that he was seen being arrested, even though he was wearing the media jacket. He was seen being arrested, and that his body was checked into a mortuary in Ikorodu. His body, alongside 5 others, He was tagged body 1385, and they said they could not identify the body. They didn't know who owned that body. Well, it would turn out that that body is the body of Pelumi Onifade, and his parents never gave up on him. That is why today we're here with the breakthrough in this result. And I hope that we can get to the bottom of this case, find out what exactly happened. Who killed Pelumi Onifade? What happened to him? He's a young soul who had his life snuffed out. He had a huge life ahead of him, a 20-year-old young journalist. There's so many names that I wish that we followed through. And, you know, we said, you know, in America, when the Black Lives Matter movement started, the one thing they kept saying was say their names, say their names. And I wish we would bring that back home here and actually say their names and not treat them as numbers. 4 killed, 5 died, 20 kidnapped. These are people's sons. Exactly. Their fathers, their brothers, their children. This is Pelumi Onifade, a young Nigerian who has had his life snuffed out from him. A future. For what reason? What was the reason for this killing? Was it really a necessary killing? Who was he threatening that made him die, that made them kill him? What happened to him?
And then the police authorities have questions to answer, because I mean, reports say that he was arrested. The last time they saw him alive, it was in their custody. So how did he end up in the mortuary?
Well,
sad.
On YouTube, comments reacting to this, someone says, Nathan Emmanuel says, how can someone arrested by the police be found dead in a mortuary is surprising. Police that released a press statement that people with dangerous weapons are vigilantes, not bandits, where the APC chairman said his picture on his Facebook page wearing INEC vest is AI, like government. Frank Obute says, the same way they asked, we had the bodies. It's the same way they are saying Nigerians are better off today than pre-2015. Michael Zu says, SARS exists with various acronyms. The worst being Tiger Base, the one Uzodinma uses to terrorize Imolites, especially his political opponents, Buhari, Buratai, and Sanwo-Olu. Okay, no, this one's a very strong allegation. I'm not sure that I can read that last line. But let's head to X and see what Nigerians are saying about Pelumi Onifade in reaction to the latest breakthrough in the case.
Policeman says more, your name is quite complex. I cannot imagine what his family has been feeling this whole time. Kai, may his soul rest in peace. This one is from, I don't know, your name's quite lengthy. He says, I wish karma was real because of situations like these. Discover with Sue says, it took them 6 years to discover that. The healthcare in Nigeria is saddening. Africans just, they bleed. Bad governance everywhere.
Bad governance choke.
5P_ whatever says, and to think the government said no deaths recorded.
Well, that's all that we have. We hope and, no, not hope. We will continue to ask the questions about Pelumi Onifade's death. And kudos to all those who have continued to follow it, who have continued to report on it. FIG, I know, had done some investigation on this as well. We'll continue with this matter and hope that when the autopsy results come out, we'll have a clearer picture and know what the next steps are. But let's now move to something that is both bitter and sweet.
There's nothing funny about this.
Sweet in that people could laugh about it, but it's a really, really bitter reality or a bitter explanation. There was a light-hearted moment in the courtroom that sparked widespread reactions on social media after a suspect standing in the dock blamed Nigeria's economic hardship occasioned by President Bola Tinubu's policies
specifically
for his involvement in crime. In a viral video circulating online, the suspect, who appeared to be on trial for an undisclosed offense, was heard speaking in Igbo language while pleading for leniency from the judge. The clip has since generated mixed reactions across social media platforms, with some users finding the suspect's remarks humorous, while others argued that economic hardship should not be used to justify criminal behavior. Let's take a look.
Chineke, what is this?
You say now, it's like anything that goes wrong, you blame the president. But there are two sides you can look at that story. But you let us know, is that a good enough excuse to ask for leniency?
Try it.
to ask for leniency from the judge to say that, I have handwork with the president, it's because of the president. Let us know. We're streaming live on YouTube, New Central TV Live. It reminds me of something I used to do jokingly whenever I wanted to negotiate. Oh, by the way, today is my father's memorial.
Amen. So
yeah, amen. And I remember after my dad passed, part of my coping mechanism was to joke about it. I would joke about it. So if somebody said to me, oh, this thing costs 5,000 and I want to ask for 2,000, I'll say, give me for 2,000, help me, I'm a fatherless child. So what that person did reminded me of what...
And what Nigerians generally do when they've been caught red-handed is the devil. Blame the devil. It wasn't my fault.
But it's not our fault. It started right from the garden. When they caught Adam, where are you? Why do you do such a thing?
With gender.
Was there?
He said, it is the woman that you gave me.
Okay.
But when he was eating the fruit, he did not tell the woman no. In fact, Adam was there. Woman was talking to serpent. He couldn't say, both of you stop this bad behavior.
You know, if that thing didn't happen then, we wouldn't even be here. All of us would just be in Garden of Eden, play with Iroekun.
I would have loved that. So much.
I think this is natural for humans to always blame every other person aside themselves for what they do. You're responsible for yourself, responsible for your life, you're responsible for the decisions that you make. So, I mean, you're not the only one who's facing the hardship.
But
you know,
it's
in the country.
The correlation, like all the way to the president.
All the way.
No, so everything
There's a governor in the state.
No, even before that, the truth is, when things go right, people would go straight to the top. It's what the president said. He said you should not pity him. So when there's a state of insecurity, when things are not working, because you realize that the president is the Oga at the top, all these other people are...
It would be nice.
They're all working in their own various capacities, but the glory, the praise, and the criticism will all go back to the president. But that being said, as funny as it sounds, we also need to talk about the roles that morals, values, and personal conviction has to play. This is not to say that people can't be tempted to do bad things. The idle mind is the devil's workshop. When life gets hard, sometimes it would lead to an increase in crime. But the truth is, who bad already, naturally, don't bad. And there are people who don't have values and morals and, you know, are lacking in integrity, little things. There have been situations where people forget their phones or their laptops in a taxi. And you know that this person is really struggling to make ends meet. But they'll call you and they'll return your device to you. It's not because they don't need that money. It's not because they can't sell it and keep the money. But because they have values that matter to them.
Very true.
It's the same way when we start to encourage those who say, oh, economy is hard, therefore collect money to sell your vote. If you justify this, that means you can justify that as well. So we need to go back to the place where we can fix our moral compass, where we can sort out the moral fabrics of us as a society, where we can see bad and call it out for bad that it is. And it's in little things and in big things. In civil service, those that are collecting, they want to give you a gig. They will tell you, oh, I'll give you this gig, but you give me commission inside. For us to be able to look at your contract, we have to, what's the word? They are collecting kickbacks, all these things. Everybody, we need to check ourselves. Michael Jackson said, I'm talking to the man in the mirror. So before you come and criticize this person or make an excuse for them,
very true.
There's a fix in a moral compass that needs to be fixed, and it starts with the man in the mirror. That is you and me.
We really need to fix that moral compass. It seems to be broken, and people celebrate all sorts of individuals with unexplained wealth. Just, you know, as long as you make it at the end of the day, and there are consequences to it.
It looks like now we're abandoning that whole process, and we're just looking at the end result. So right now it's a case of whatever it is that this person has gotten, we don't really care. That the person has it, the person has it. And that's why nowadays we even ask, okay, so what's the source of this person's wealth? You hear things like, what's your business? You're jealous.
Exactly. You're poor.
You know, you're poor, you're jealous. You hear things like, you're too poor, I can't be talking to you. You know,
is it not in the same country that a young teenager will buy, we've seen videos on social media of a young teenager buying a car, and the family is celebrating. The mother and the father, the mother is dancing. In this particular video was the mom celebrating. And I'm just wondering, common biscuit or pen growing up that you will bring back that's not yours. Then your mother will open your bag and see it. You will explain to your mother who gave you this thing and how you got it. For the longest time, even when people came and gave us things, we're not allowed to collect it. You were taught contentment. Even when during celebrations, maybe like Salah and all of that, when our neighbors will bring ram, my mother will eat it too, but she will not give us. Because she will tell you things like, oh, you need to learn to know that people can have things that don't belong to you. And you'll be content with the one that you have. So we are a society that is driven by quick things. It's the dopamine, the conscious dopamine release. For example, the addiction to social media. Everybody wants to blow quick, People don't want to go through the process of hard work again overnight. So a lot of that will lead to the quality of life. And that is not to say that the government hasn't led in a way that has increased the poverty level of citizens. So two truths can coexist. I'll take some comments from YouTube. Let's see if anyone... Okay, yes.
I think maybe DSS should also arrest that guy after they release him.
Which one?
The guy that said Tinubu for defamation.
Wow.
Is that the reason the same
Well, he
reason
didn't call the
Sure.
criminals.
Okay, let me take comments.
You should prove it.
Michael Zeus says, this corporate can't use hardship as excuse for crime. But in reality, Tinubu's misgovernance has led many into crime, especially kidnappers, bandits, and political thugs. Tinubu is really punishing us. Nathan Emmanuel says, government policies have affected many negatively. Many have lost their jobs, but that is not a justification for committing crimes. So he has to pay for his crime, and I agree with you. Gerald Costanza says, did Nigerians wake with electricity this morning? Nigerian women care more about the Asian hair on your heads more than your country. Calm down now. Let's not generalize. Because it's the same way we can say that there's an over-glorification of money, ill-gotten wealth, quick wealth, and it's not gender-specific. It is for the men.
But if you look at the history of Nigeria, I want to believe there was a time it wasn't this bad, right?
Of course. Growing up, it wasn't this bad.
But we still had people who were poor at that point in time.
Yes. It wasn't this bad growing up.
So are we ever going to get to a point in time where we won't have people who are facing hardship?
No, it's not possible. Even Scripture says that the poor will always remain among you. It's not possible. For a balance of society,
it's always going to be there.
There'll be the rich, there'll be the middle class, there'll be the poor. But the thing is, even as a poor person, there's hope that you'll be able to live a certain decent, dignified life.
How citizens in Norway live, you know.
Anyway, these are the wake-up conversations that we've had this morning, but we're going into proper talks looking at some of the biggest political stories in Nigeria. Let's share with you what these top stories today are. Today we'll be looking for our top stories ahead of Osun Governorship polls. INEC security agencies move to prevent electoral violence. We hope that this move will be rewarded and truly there will be no violence. Alleged Osun killings. The lawyer petitions IGP over attacks. And then we'll be looking at the Ekiti governorship elections. Stakeholders review poll. Seek improved electoral processes. And away from that, Vice President calls for proactive disaster management, particularly regarding the flood risk that we're seeing. The newspaper front pages will be reviewed. We'll have our guests join us, and then we'll open the lines for you to share your thoughts. Join us for all these and more, but all through, please keep engaging on social media.
You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. Legal practitioner Pelumi Olajengbesi has petitioned the Nigerian police force over what he describes as a continuous killing of innocent citizens in Osun State, allegedly perpetrated by members of the opposition, citing the recent killing of a young man. Amongst other incidents in the state, he says that despite several petitions to the State Police Command and the force headquarters, the incidents have persisted without thorough investigation to identify and prosecute those responsible. He alleged that in the last 2 months, about 50 people have been shot, with 10 reportedly killed and several others hospitalized, urging the Inspector General of Police to intervene and ensure comprehensive investigation into the matter.
I have documented all the names of characters involved in this mindless killing. I have documented video evidence. I have attached pictures, photographs for the Inspector General of Police to understand that there is crisis going on in Osun State. The only reason why we are calling on Inspector General of Police, we understand that it is his responsibility, it is his duty to ensure that people are protected.
Now, the Pairing Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa has called for stronger collaboration among political parties, INEC, civil society organizations, and other stakeholders to strengthen Nigeria's electoral process ahead of the 2027 general elections. Now, at a meeting in Abuja to review the recently concluded Ekiti State governorship election, participants identified inadequate funding, vote buying, and post-election litigation as some of the key challenges affecting credible polls. Our concerns were also raised over administrative lapses, including discrepancies in election documents, while stakeholders called greater cooperation and reforms to ensure more transparent, inclusive, and credible elections in 2027.
Our greatest area of worry is vote buying, which unfortunately INEC doesn't have much control over, because it's something that involves virtually all stakeholders, but especially the politicians, because they are the ones that buy votes. And of course, even the public itself. Right now, we still haven't gotten our funds. At least as at last week. I'm not sure, and I know what the chairman has been going through. He's been going, every lever he will pull, he's been trying to pull so that we'll get our money.
In terms of process, INEC delivered. But like we said, there were administrative issues in terms of you had a ballot paper that had, I think, 19 political parties. And then you had the result sheets that had 15. If any of these political parties didn't appear on the ballot, we would have been ready for probably another long, litigation. There needs to be a multi-stakeholder engagement around the elections. The political culture, the nature of our politicians, the way they see victory or loss, the way they want to manipulate whatever loophole that they see, is not in focus, and we should put that in focus.
Members of the Nigeria Union of Teachers, FCT chapter, have staged a picketing exercise against the chairman of the FCT Civil Service Commission, Emeka Eze, over alleged irregularities in the promotion of teachers and what they describe as violations of public service rules. The protesters marched from the Civil Service Commission headquarters to the office of the FCT minister, where they submitted a letter containing their demands before returning to the commission's premises. News Central's Sumaya Abubakar brings us more in this report.
No to stagnation. No to denial of promotion arrears.
Members of the Nigeria Union of Teachers gathered at the FCT Civil Service Commission to protest what they describe as unfair promotion practices affecting teachers. The union accused the commission of denying qualified teachers career progression despite meeting promotion requirements and passing relevant examinations.
That is the only thing we enjoy. Promotion, that is the only thing a teacher enjoys. And you can see what is happening in this country today. Teachers are beheaded in their places of work. Students are being kidnapped. Teachers are being kidnapped. And yet you don't want to give us our promotion. What do you think is happening? That is a bad thing for the system.
In 2024, promotion were due. We were not called for the promotion. Only to be called late 2025. And up to this moment, the commission refused to promote us that until he gets vacancy. And this vacancy is just by 1 or 2.
Teachers are not pool workers. If we are pool workers, you will tell us there is no office accommodation, there is nowhere to push us to. But we are field workers, and our classrooms are enough offices for us to maintain.
The use of vacancy is indirect rule to deny. Yes. But the law of nature permits progression, yes. Permit growth. Yes. When you remove growth from nature, it's death.
The protesters later marched to the office of the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, where a letter containing their demands was received on his behalf. The union says teachers deserve fair treatment and strict adherence to public service rules, noting that educators make up a significant proportion of the FCT workforce.
We are teachers, don't cheat us. Yes. We are teachers, don't kill us. Yes. When you deny somebody a promotion, you are killing the person intellectually and morally.
The minister should please help us to remove this vacancy promotion before promotion, and apart from that, we need the Teaching Service Commission in FCT to take care of teachers' affairs.
Release our promotions for us for 2024. When that is released without any problem, without any encumbrances, then they can now go for 2025 promotion exam. But if that is not done, I assure you, there will be no rest. We are going to be on this protest every day in FCT until the right thing is done to us.
After submitting their petition, the protesters returned to the FCT Civil Service Commission and dispersed peacefully, expressing hope that the relevant authorities will address their concerns. In Abuja, for News Central, Sumaya Abubakar.
Thank you very much, Sumaya Abdullahi, for that package. The NUT FCT teachers went on that protest, and it will interest you to note that this is not the first time that they've given the notice to the government. They gave a 7-day ultimatum in March. They gave another one in April. So they are arguing that if they have gotten to a time where they should be promoted, they should not wait until there's a vacancy for that promotion. And to be honest, teachers, I would argue, have been given a low end of the stick.
Yeah, it's almost like a thankless job for how important it is and their effect in society. It's really, really sad. And you're right that they've been given the low end. If it's not promotion, it's one issue or the other with pay, work environment, and it's a very important job. They're the ones that imbibe knowledge in children. I mean, everybody, regardless of what profession you might find yourself in today, has once been taught by a teacher, and to see the way they're treated is just a reflection of what we prioritize as a country, our value system, and it's really, really terrible. How do you have career progression if you're not going to take, promotion exams as at when due?
I think generally there seems to be an attack on Nigeria's educational sector, because if it's not teachers fighting for salary, the same FCT, we had teachers go on strike a month ago for days, right? And now we're having this issue of promotion. If it's not teachers today, it's lecturers tomorrow with ASU. If it's not that, it's children being kidnapped from school. So generally, it just looks like there's something wrong with our educational system. And maybe that's why some people would rather focus on something else. I was having a conversation yesterday with someone, and he was just saying that it looks like, for some people, for some young people right now, it looks like schooling or education in itself is no longer as attractive anymore, because you're not, if you attend a government school right now, especially in university, you're not even certain of when you're going to finish. You might know when you start, but by a 4-year course at the end of the day, it might not end up being a 4-year course.
And then look at role models in society, the people we celebrate. I mean, there's nothing that shouts or screams education excellence. Right. When looking at that, and these are the people who want to inspire the next generation. We're just TikToking, dancing our way into oblivion.
My worry is even the quality of teachers that we will have. Not just now, we already have a struggle. People won't look at it as
people end up
in
teaching after they've tried everything other thing. Else. So it's a last resort
teaching
profession.
And police force.
It's the one that they exhibit their frustration on even students when they come eventually, because some teachers act as though they're angry for even being there in the first place. Like they're not living their dreams, and like I have no choice but I have to be here.
And for those in authority, the government, please, while you're building, rail infrastructure, which is good, and roads and flyovers, please, most importantly, look at the human development indices, the index. Develop the human beings that are in this country. We need quality human beings. We need high IQ human beings that will be globally competitive. 21st century human beings, equip them with the necessary knowledge so that they can be employers of labor in the future, and also spur the economy to, develop, because at the end of the day, it's one of the greatest resources you can have. It's the human beings that develop capacity, that develop places like Singapore. You look at their civil service, excellent people. You look at Korea and other countries. So we need to pay, and the foundation, like they say, is education. So it starts from there. I
agree with you completely. It's why this young YC, music artist, if you're active on social media, you will see the argument about Olodo uprising. And the reason that Olodo uprising came up was because he went on a podcast and he was talking about how there's an Olodo uprising where we have young people who are gravitating more towards being sensational online, because there's a celebration of fame and there's a celebration of quick rising, and they would rather celebrate somebody who has more followers. If you see the kind of ridiculous content some of
who has been
sexualizing women,
destroying cars, just content, very banal,
as opposed to celebrating academic excellence. When we were younger, they used to have competitions, spelling bees, mathematics competition. Those things were things that we looked forward to now. And that's not to say, this is not to rain on the parade of content creators. I'm a content creator myself. But there is a proliferation of content creators in such a way that right now there are people who the kind of content that they create should not be content that should be making it to to mainstream media, content that you feel like you're losing brain cells watching the videos.
I think we should talk to the DG because of Nigerian Film and Video Censors Board. Is somebody I know, and we should invite him next week to see if there, if the act that establishes them covers social media, because they do have a lot of work to do, a national orientation agency. But I feel we're far behind. Where do you want to begin to change the psyche of the people?
For me, the reason I bring up the Olodo uprising is going back to the conversation about education and the fact that we haven't put a premium on education. We haven't prioritized education. As a nation, we need to do better in prioritizing the quality of education, ensuring that the education sector looks as glamorous as it should look. Right now, we're more focused on the other things that look flashy. And the risk in that is in the next 10, 20 years, you know, now you can ask some young children, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they'll tell you, I want to be a lawyer, a doctor, an actor, a TV host. That a time will come where you will not see anybody that says,
some people,
I want to be a teacher.
Some parents right now, they're on Project Mbappe right now for their children. They want them to play football. It's not a bad idea.
Wrong. It's okay.
But we still need people who will succeed our professors, our lecturers, our teachers. Back in the day, we had teachers who were, who were really, really good at what they do. But right now, we can't even confidently say that we have people who can
Even the teachers need training.
They need training, serious training.
You were talking about professions. What would you like to be when you grow up? Did you know, can't you remember that viral video of that young guy that said, Mofema Chache?
As funny as it is.
I remember that.
You know, he's seeing a lot of young people buying cars at the age of 15, buying Benz, and celebrating mediocrity.
And even,
because they have
popular culture. I was asking Joe the other day that if you listen to Nigerian music, you would think Nigeria was like Switzerland or Luxembourg, where everybody was just very picturesque, we're eating chocolates, we're drinking wine, fine dining, no poverty, no problems. Because the so-called music artists, all they're singing about is your body is a meat pie or your body is something else, and champagne and popping things. No one is talking about the issues in the land, and it's funny how when it comes to Afrobeat,
I know almost every Afrobeat artist will always refer to Fela. Yes. Say, oh, he's my inspiration and all that. But Fela spoke about things that
maybe he's the inspiration for something else.
I'm not saying everybody cannot be.
Yeah, I know, but at least even if you're not singing about it, look, there are people, there are artists in America, hardcore rap artists, but they will still talk about the bad water situation in Flint and Black Lives Matter. Even though their music is hardcore, is garbage, but they still have the duty of care and the presence of mind to speak about it. These guys just don't care. They prefer to throw money at people, chasing them after the club, and they like that thing. You're dehumanizing people. So when politicians throw bread at you, don't be surprised. It's society. And at the end of the day, like Joe would always say, the great Joe Hansen that used to sit on that exalted seats you are sitting on. He used to say Nigerians are the problem of Nigerians. So until we get a critical mass of people that have looked in the mirror, like the great Olive will always say, and Michael Jackson, may his soul rest in peace.
Indeed.
Would always say, look at the man in the mirror. Until we change, a huge collective of Nigerians at change as a people will continue to suffer from what we're suffering. The dysfunction in society.
That's all that we can take regarding that story, but we hope that we'll continue to mount pressure on the government to prioritize the education sector. And we on our own as a society have a role to play, and that we'll all play our part. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll get into our conversations. Please stay with us.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. With political activities gradually gaining momentum ahead of the 2026 Osun State Governorship elections, INEC security agencies and other key stakeholders are calling for peace amidst concerns that rising tensions could threaten the credibility of the poll. The appeal comes as political actors begin to position themselves for the contest, with observers warning that early signs of intolerance and confrontation must not be allowed to escalate into violence. And this morning on Breakfast Central, we have the pleasure of speaking with the Honourable Commissioner of Information of Osun State, Honorable Kolapo Alimi. A warm welcome to you, Honorable Alimi. And thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Now, INEC security agencies and other stakeholders are calling for peace ahead of the Osun Governorship elections, and it seems that there's quite a lot of tension in the air in Osun. From your perspective, what is driving these concerns, and how would you currently assess the political atmosphere, the current political atmosphere in Osun State?
Well, thank you for this opportunity. The current political atmosphere in the state is very, very high. The tension is mounting up. And what is the root cause? Is impunity. Some people believe they want to use federal might to overrun the people's might. So they are going around every day doing whatever they like, and the police has been looking away. And when you have impunity and people are being killed, maimed, injured, shot at, and if no arrest is made, you just believe that it will continue. I'm a lawyer. You are taught in the school one of the aims of criminal punishment is deterrence, to prevent others from doing it. You are taught that in a situation whereby a criminal act is committed and the person is allowed to go scot-free, another person will commit the same offense. That's why you are seeing what you are seeing. Up to yesterday night, you still had it that some people were kidnapped in Elisha. When you look at the trajectory, the killing of Eluyera in Ikire, local government, the hometown of the APC candidate, even the same ward. The guy happened to be the Accord party agent. He was murdered. And his mother happened to be the Accord women leader in that local government. He was murdered. No arrest was made. Some days back, the APC in their branded vehicle, they were coming from Ife. On getting to a point along Osogbo Road, they will meet there along the town, along the line. They stop at various junctions, Aisu, they stop at Udi at the junction. They shot at people, about 7 people, they are still recuperating. And shortly before that time, the chairman of Accord in Osogbo local government, Asimiyu Ademola Babaisila, was shot at, still at the teaching hospital, still recuperating, no arrest was made. And up till about last Friday or thereabout, that some people, on Sunday, yes, on Sunday and on Friday, one hoodlum attack some people because they are putting up a court cap and they are still retrieving treatment. On Sunday, the same set of people, they went to the local government to attack, to destroy the Amatekun office. And when they got there, they started shooting the Amatekun guys there because they were not fully harmed, perhaps. They ran away, 2 of them. And in the process of shooting around, they hit one guy, they injured one person. The person is still in the teaching hospital, receiving treatment. Along the line, they now killed a 14-year-old boy, the Ezekiel. And so, up to this moment, those people, the father and mother of that guy, of that 14-year-old boy, and those people, they are identified in notorious talks. Up to this moment, no arrest was made. So when you up to this moment, no arrest is made. But when you look at the totality of all these things, when you add it together, you will discover that because of the impunity and the fact that we had and we raised alarm that they had a meeting that they will increase the violence so as to prevent people from coming out to vote on the day of the election so that they can do whatever they like and then declare themselves the winner. Because when you look at the popularity of Ademola Adele, couples with the fact that thousands of people, especially the Omisori group, they have left APC camp, they have joined Accord. And so they now discover that the only thing they can do is to continue to use a threat and intimidation. And because they know that the police and other security agents will look away because they are the one in power at the federal. So it is because of this impunity that is making the tension to rise, and the political tension is high now in Osun. You can only call on the police and the other security agents to live up to their constitutional role. They are not supposed to be biased. Criminality has no coloration. Look at the small guy that was hit by that bullet. He has not reached the age of a 14 years old boy. When you look, his life was cut short, and it's quite painful. Many people that are receiving treatment now, some of them sustain fatal injury that they will continue to nurse for the rest of their life. Is it because of these politics that we are doing all these things? And we know that all this threat and intimidation will not work for them. The people of Osun have determined that never again that APC or anything lineage of Alhaji Igboho Itola, who rule this state without any achievement, who rule with a strong hand, will still come around again. But all these things they are doing is because the CP here, CP Ibrahim Gotan, is looking away. If 2 or 3 people have been apprehended and they have been prosecuted, others will sit tight. And we can only call on him to live up to his oath of office and not to be partisan.
Honorable Commissioner, you talked about the intervention of federal might. You also talked about the fact that the police seems to be looking away as regards the violence in Osun State. I just want to know, because we understand the importance of security agencies when it comes to elections, how confident are you with the security agencies in Osun State as we count down to the election?
We know the antics. We know that the police will continue to look away, we know. But on the day of the election, the peoples will be able to rise up. They will not allow anybody to disrupt the election. They will not allow anybody to rig the election. But before that day, look at it. It's almost 1.5 months or even more. Some days less than 2 months. Look at the number of days. And it's critical that people, you can't continue like this. You can't continue like this. The governor has written a lot of letters, has spoken to so many people. They are just playing out the rhetoric. Yes, Mr. Governor, you're going to see what you're going to do to it. Names have been mentioned of people that are committing these crimes.
Who are these people?
Name.
Can you mention
Yes, thank
these
you
names?
very much. Let me mention names of some people, like one guy called Kasibo Iwale, a.k.a. Asiri Enimba. There is one guy too, is known as Aliba. The one that committed the Lobu saga is known as Said Karim Tanfiani. The video, there are video footings of all these things. So it's not as if it is being done at large, that no names has been mentioned. But the police have decided to look away. They are still roaming the streets. They are still behaving as if nothing has happened. So many names has been mentioned. Those are the ones that I can quickly recall of those guys, hard guys. They are not all that many. With just by the time 5 or 6 or 7 out of their number totality in 10 or less, by the time they are arrested, there will be peace in the town. But because they believe that they are untouchable, that is the more reason why they are continuing. And they are saying they will continue that until the election day. But we know that on election day, the people will be able to come out and declare their and protect their food. But as it is now, what they do is that they will just look at what happened on the local government. Because of this issue of local government in Brooklyn, created by last administration, try as much as possible to hijack the local government administration for his people. When Alhaji Igboho Itola has lost the election, people have rejected him. He quickly rose to conduct an election illegally, and that's what they are holding on up to this moment. Even when court has even ruled in latest one, they approached the court for tenure extension. The court said no, you didn't have tenure in the first instance, and if at all if you have tenure, we cannot extend the tenure for you. You have to leave. They still said because they have filed an appeal and they have filed state of execution, they have to be there. But because, as at that time, the PDP was actually saying that we will resume. So they now thought perhaps Amatekun will be used. They now went to Amatekun office on Sunday to destroy the Amatekun office. That was why they were at Record local government. And there was a joint adjacent to that local government where people used to drink palm wine and rejoice and enjoy their life. That was how they saw somebody putting on this type of cap, this yellow cap. That was, they saw a guy and they shot at that place. The guy that put on that yellow cap is currently at a teaching hospital. It was while they were shooting sporadically, people were running at skater, that small boy was running, and he saw his mother fell down, and he came down just to rescue. Along the line, he was hit by that bullet in the head, and he died. And the people saw them. They even said they have accosted them before, and they greeted them, and they told them, "We are not here for you. We are here for Amatekun people, all those things, and so on and so forth." But they mentioned the names of the perpetrators. You could see part of it was what we are showing now. When the man was going to where the corpse of his son was lying, he was shouting and talking about the person who carried out the various acts, and there was a footage later got from those who recorded from afar of that guy when he was in the act. But up to this moment that we are talking about, the police is yet to arrest. Out of the 7 people mentioned, the police is yet to arrest any one of them, and the police is yet to declare them wanted for the act. And so it's emboldening them that they can kill and go away with that. And as it is now, people are afraid to even put on this cap. They are afraid. All the small flag of accord all around that people used to display with joy and so on and so forth. Everybody has to pipe blue. A woman came to my house yesterday. He said 4 or 5 cows. They have 4 or 5 cows are called cows in the house. He said, "I spark everything." That his husband at that might be so stubborn because he's a driver. He would say his husband said he will still continue to put it on. See, the woman, okay, no, you can't continue to put it on. I will demonstrate on the election day with our finger, with our finger and thumbs. But I will not allow you to be putting on a court cap because you will be a subject of attack. And these are the things that they are doing to scare people away from election. They are doing everything possible. They want to they are not popular in this state. Let me tell you one thing. They are not popular, and they know. And that was the reason why Alhaji Sakagbo Igoitola himself could not and is not contesting. He want to use another person, Bolo Ibamiji, as a proxy. Now, they now discover that if I thought they don't do anything possible using the advantage of the federal might on their side,
right,
that they might never have opportunity of coming to power in this state again. That's why they are doing all this thing, and whatever they do, they are going to fail.
Honorable Commissioner, we hope that by virtue of this interview, we've been able to shine light on what's happening in the state and that law enforcement agents will see that they're being called out by their citizens and will rise to the occasion and ensure that the elections move smoothly and that the citizens are able to move around freely and with confidence, knowing that their lives are not in danger. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. All right, let's bring you a recap of the conversations we have had this morning and then share with you what's coming up next. A recap this morning, we went, of course, to speak ahead of the Osun Governorship poll coming up on the 15th of August. INEC and security agencies moved to prevent electoral violence. We also spoke about the alleged killings in Osun as the lawyer has petitioned the IGP over the attacks. The police has been fingered in these for being complicit. Ekiti governorship elections, stakeholders review poll, seek improved electoral process. Let's now share what's coming up next.
Coming up next, we will look at presidential candidates leading ahead of 2027, according to polls. Bayonanuga under fire over hunger comments. Vice President Kashim Shettima calls for proactive disaster management. Do stay with us. Breakfast Central continues shortly.
Welcome back, still Breakfast Central. Now, Nigeria's political temperature is rising as we inch closer to 2027. A new voter sentiment tracker by SBM Intelligence paints a striking picture. One presidential candidate is leading significantly in favorability, wow, that's a tongue twister, favorability ratings, while President Bola Tinubu faces a steep disapproval across most zones. Now, nearly 80% of Nigerians surveyed say that the country is headed in the wrong direction. Sobering verdict on governance, economy, and security.
Now, is this a snapshot of frustration or a forecast of the future? And how should political actors, institutions, and citizens interpret these findings as the 2027 general election approaches? To help us make sense of these questions, we're joined this morning by partner and head of research at SBM Intelligence, Ikemesit F. Young. Good morning. Thank you very much.
Morning. Great to have you join us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's talk about this survey.
Yeah.
You know, what was taken into consideration? What were the factors? What were the geographical, maybe areas or persons considered to be able to reach this conclusion? And maybe give us deeper insight into what the report showed.
Okay, so this was a dipstick survey. We basically talked to 829 Nigerians in 8 Nigerian states, as well as the Federal Capital Territory. These are the states that we usually poll fairly regularly for our widely followed Jollof Index report, which tracks food inflation as well as cost of living, right? And we just wanted to get a sense in the lead up to the election seasons. There are lots of people who, you know, are on shows like yours talking about politics. You know, obviously, I was listening to the last conversation, right, about the elections that are imminent, right, in the governorship elections that are imminent. So we just wanted to add a quantitative, right, understanding to the conversation, and also add the average Nigerian in terms of what their thinking is about the current state of the country, where their headspace is with respect to how they see 2027 shaking up, right, and what are the issues which, at least according to what our respondents say, will be defining how they vote and make those choices, right, next year.
So how do surveys like this affect, Nigerians come election day?
I don't know that it exactly affects them. I quite like the intro when you talked about whether it's actually a snapshot of the current state of affairs or it's a predictor of the future. I generally do not like to see polls as prophetic, right, in that sense, because people's views and perspectives can change. Right. This was a culmination of data that we've gathered over the first half of the year, and literally during the data gathering process, we saw, for example, the perception ratings of the political parties literally switch and change. So in February, March, while we were doing the data gathering, that was at the height of the political drama that was going on within the APC that led to those high-profile defections, and we saw the favorability rating of the ADC literally change in real time. Right.
That was very dramatic, actually. What happened with the ADC and the favorability changing? Because for 1 minute, it was like like they called it the beautiful bride.
I guess it has to do with individuals in these parties. Now, looking at the geography of Nigeria and ethnicity, do you think it has any effects on the way the favorability ratings of the people? How much of an effect does it have?
Well, we did test for that directly, but what we found quite interesting was that the president, for example, his approval rating in the Southwest, for example, which is his home district, right, isn't the best. It's actually the second worst, right, in the country, just behind the Northeast. So if you're looking at geopolitical zones as a proxy for sort of ethnicity, then that leads to some interesting findings. The president doesn't appear to be favorably regarded in the Southeast and the South primarily, and then the Northwest, right, follows those two geopolitical zones. Asking questions around ethnicity is a little bit tricky because usually Nigerians face...
No, not directly.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, from the sampling.
Yeah. So, Nigerians will often not tell you directly, that would be an issue. And that's, again, another element of sort of the polling that you have to account for. If you look at the voting intent, if you look at PVC, collection rates, at least as self-reported by MR respondents, the regions that seem to do the highest, and if you look at voting intention, so the people actually say, okay, I have my PVCs, I'm following the elections, and I'm actually going to vote in January. And take note, we're having this conversation in the first half of 2026. These numbers can change. We hope to do this. We hope to do a lot more of this, right? Actually, several, right? In the lead up to the elections, the regions where the president isn't doing very well are also the regions that are reporting the highest sort of metrics on those intents. People who have the most PVCs, people who say they want to vote, and people who say they are likely to vote for the opposition.
I wanted to ask what the specific failures are regarding those who have sort of lost, or those who the president has lost his favor with. There's a video that we started the show with. I don't know if our producers have access to it. In court, a criminal, we don't know what the person, well, it's not a criminal. A person who was accused of crime was in court, and in a bid to appeal for leniency from the judge, the person says, I have handwork. President Tinubu, let's take a look at the video. Oh, yeah. And that is a video of the person blaming outrightly the president and saying, look, I have handwork. Please have mercy on me. It's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That is, in a way, another decline in presidential approval rating, this time from a suspect. What are some of the factors that have driven and that have been driving the presidential approval rating? I wouldn't say continue to drive because, like you said, anything can change.
Yeah, so one of the questions that we asked was that we asked respondents right across the country to rate the president on a scale of 1 to 5 on 5 key indicators: inflation, taxation, security, jobs, and power. Right, where 1 being very poor and 5 being very good. The ratings were not great.
Let's go
right?
to the details.
Yes, so I mean, you have a situation where the geopolitical zone where the president did the best was in the northwest, and is on a scale of 1 to 5, his aggregate score was 2.02. Right, yeah. In his home geopolitical zone, the southwest, it was at a 1.64. He fared the worst in the southeast at a 1 point. Yes, at a 1.14. So basically, nationally, the president is basically at like a 1.8, 1.9 out of 5. And I think that story that's encapsulated right in that video, right, bears true in the data, in that for many Nigerians, they hold the current administration largely responsible for the current state of the economy, for the fact that security-wise, look at that perception, for example, 45% say insecurity is their primary concern. You combine that with the economy, it's like a 79% composite of our respondents.
I'm quite surprised that job has, on the graphics we have on screen now,
yeah.
The chart rather, 2%.
Yeah, so Nigerians are sort of distinguishing like the wider economy from jobs. So if you look at jobs in terms of like the formal economy, access to more formal roles and all of that, Nigerians appear to be parsing that out and distinguishing that from the wider economy. You can have a hustle, you can start and run a business. Almost all of us have second caps as content creators, lifestyle creators, influencers, right, and the likes. That's emblematic of wider economic activity.
Status CEOs.
Exactly. Yes. It looks like you've been assaulted a little bit on your WhatsApps in that sense.
Olive is one of them.
Yeah. So. Okay, I'll stay out of that. But but the thing is, so you can look at wider economic activity. What are all the avenues that you use to derive an income, right? And some of that can be warehoused in the formal economy. A lot of that for a lot of Nigerians is in the informal economy, right? What we're seeing with the rankings and the ratings is that a lot of Nigerians are basically giving up on the formal economy and they're just trying to make a living for themselves. And even at doing that, they feel as though government is making that really difficult.
So this
for them.
is good feedback for policymakers and the government if they want to change the perception. They know where the fault lines are. They know what to do. But what's the spirit behind the SBM intelligence decision to carry on the surveys, and why you want to keep doing it?
I mean, data is good. Data gives you like a clear-eyed understanding of where you're going, of where the contour lines are. Like you said, political actors can look at the numbers. Some of them will try to see it as an endorsement of what they are doing or as an indictment of their opponents. That's not necessarily how we like to see it. This is basically Nigerians offering sort of like a term sheet or a or sort of a homework, right? Yeah, to the politicians in terms of these are the things we're worried about. This is how we feel about the country. 80% of our respondents say the country isn't heading in the right direction. These are sort of our priority areas, not only in the lead up to the elections, but post the elections. And these are the things you should be paying attention to. Those are some of the kind of things that we want to bring to the discourse by doing things like the voter sentiment tracker.
All right, so in the course of your survey, were there questions around the confidence Nigerians have in INEC? Because we know how, the important role INEC is going to play, or plays rather, in our election. So was that question asked? Did people indicate if they have confidence in INEC?
Well, so that's a question that that's a theme we want to explore, in sort of like a follow-up, in sort of a follow-up, a wave 2, wave 3, right, of the voter sentiment tracker. Safe to say, if many Nigerians don't feel confident in the current direction of the country, confidence in INEC may not be as great. We've seen in past election cycles, and we did polling in 2023 and 2019 where Nigerians were not very confident in INEC's ability, right, to carry out free, fair, and credible elections. So it would be good to test that in this cycle. What we decided to focus on in this particular cycle, away from sort of the bread and butter political questions, was to talk about artificial intelligence and misinformation and how that's likely to affect. And many Nigerians are concerned.
What were some of the things the conclusions you came to? And I'm asking because there is really a huge concern for me in many ways. One is the fact that you're looking at the fact that brands are now using artificial intelligence models. I'm hoping that one day they will not come and say, okay, people no need to come. Breakfast Central will be done by AI.
Why do you think I have several side hustles?
I guess some stations have tried that before in terms of using AI to show. So
So what two things that we found quite interesting. Right, 79% of our respondents said social media is now their primary source of information. In past cycles, radio, television, especially radio, was a lot more competitive. So a majority of Nigerians are definitely, in the lead up to the elections, they'll be getting a lot of their information, right, from social media. Only 43% say they go out of their way to verify information. And geographically, it is really, 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 really skewed. I think it's only in the Southeast where we had north of 40% of respondents say they fact-check social media. In the Southwest, which you would probably say is the most digitally connected part of the country, only 77% of people say they fact-check, even though 60% of respondents say they're very concerned about deep fakes.
I mean, even as media practitioners ourselves, we have to be on our toes and double-check and triple-check. So imagine people that don't even have that media background and media literacy. It's the wild, wild west out there in terms of AI and its effect, and of course the algorithms. I'm just thinking out loud that, having done this survey and looking at the pace and ease at which it was done, if maybe in the future we could adopt blockchain technology to conduct elections, they will be devoid of thugs, ballot snatching, undue influence by INEC chairman, and we'll get good results. I mean, but I guess it's not now. It's been done in Estonia. It's not like it's something that is just out of reality. It does exist.
Realm of possibilities,
out of the realm of possibilities. It does, and it will go a long way into. So you stop worrying about the human factor and all of that. And I think it might be overall cheaper, because we're looking at upwards of almost ₦1 trillion to conduct elections that people will still doubt. And even the government's budget for INEC's defense in courts is huge. So it's almost like they're preparing for a flawed election.
I mean, there's certainly there's certainly a point to be made around trust, just generally, but particularly trust in technology, right? Oftentimes, the tech are scoped out by designers, by regulators, and by technical experts generally, right? May work and may fine. And may be fine generally, but you've got to ask the question as to whether voters, politicians themselves, their agents, other actors, and critical stakeholders trust that this system will operate. One of the studies that we did, for example, in the lead up to the 2023 elections, we actually did it in 2022, was around trust in beavers, because that was when that set up for verifying and transmitting election results debuted in Nigeria. And one of the things that we called out in that report was that not enough of Nigeria was sufficiently covered by 4G technology. At the time, it was like 43% of the country was covered by 4G tech for beavers to actualize on the promise that INEC and the technical stakeholders said it was going to deliver on. And we saw that play out, right, in the elections. So it's one thing to have the tech. It's one thing for it to have been tried and tested, right, in other jurisdictions. It's another thing for Nigerians to believe that they can interact with it in a way where it would work, it would be consistent, right across the country, right? We've definitely advanced in terms of 4G coverage, but there are still those concerns about whether beavers will work. We still saw, technical issues, right, come up in Ekiti. Just last week, right? Yeah, and so how much of that will change significantly between now and January is anyone's guess. So technology is good and great, but I think with the tech in terms of delivering the elections, but in terms of how technology is used by political actors to shape narrative, shape perceptions, right, and influence voters in the lead up to the elections. One of the things that we did say in this report is that we saw some AI and some misinformation, right, deployed in 2023, but this election, we think, will be Nigeria's first proper artificially intelligence-influenced election.
Okay, that sounds exciting. Beyond rating the popularity and acceptability of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, did you check for his opponents?
Oh, yes, we did. I mean, we would have been crucified if we did not. Yes. So the president's net favorability ratings obviously was in negative territory, right? Not too much of a surprise in that sense. Incumbents tend to, fight, right, from sort of the back of the queue, usually, especially when they are up for re-elections. Sort of like the main candidates that everyone thinks, right, will run primarily against the president, Peter Obi's net favorability rating was the only positive of all of the main candidates at plus 58.3.
Oh, so the fact that you're not happy with the government doesn't automatically translate that you'll have favorable ratings of every other person?
Yes, exactly, right. Yeah, as you can see, Rotimi Amechi was second worst at minus 46.7. Atiku Abubakar, almost minus 32. Rabiu Kwankwaso, whom many expect would be Peter Obi's running mate, was at minus 21.6. Serika minus 22%. What seems interesting to us, right, from this is that the common denominator, apart from the fact that they are the most prominent opposition figures between Peter Obi and Rabiu Kwankwaso, this may be less of the case with Rabiu Kwankwaso is they haven't necessarily been part of any federal, well, at least Peter Obi hasn't been part of any federal cabinet. He's obviously not been president, right, or run for government. Rabiu Kwankwaso has served in a federal cabinet, but not many Nigerians either know that or they are not marking him down as consistently as the other three. Atiku Abubakar, former Vice President, Rotimi Amechi, former Transport Minister, obviously Bola Tinubu, currently running this administration. So it appears as though for many Nigerian voters, right, if you've been part of federal governance, and let's be fair and let's be honest with ourselves, right, governance in Nigeria is highly centralized, right, and so most of our focus is on what's going on in Aso Rock and all of the people who are surrounding that. Then it appears as though voters are significantly marking those sort of candidates.
Yes, that's why that guy in the court made that statement.
Was there any point in time, perhaps, that the age of the people you asked questions affected this particular survey?
You do see some significant variation, right, across age demographics. Generally, younger voters more skeptical of political figures, you know, much more damning in their verdicts, right, on the performance of political parties, both those who are currently in power as well as the opposition, generally more pessimistic, right, about the current state of the country, the current state of the economy, and especially when it comes to economic issues. Older voters tend to be a little more contextual in how they view the issues. But generally, it's a matter of degrees. At least that's what the data is showing us. So it's not as though older voters are significantly more optimistic than younger voters. It's a matter of them being less pessimistic than younger voters.
And also, I mean, we've seen high degrees of voter apathy in our staggered elections. Osun State, FCT municipal polls, and it seems like it's going to be a trend going forward. Is it something you wish to consider in the future, participation, if people would actually, because it's easy to participate in polls like yours, but actually going out on election day when there are things to do to watch on TV, when people organize community games, they do barbecue, and then the hassle of getting your PVC. It would be nice to know what the perception is for ordinary Nigerians if they're actually going to go to the polls and vote. Is this something you're considering?
It's something we actually tested in this, in this VST. So we talked about high turnout intention. Now, caveats, right? This is self-reported. A lot of the data gathering happened, right, in February, March, April.
Of 2026.
Of 2026. A lot can change. It obviously looks good to field reps, right, and researchers. If you tell them, oh, yes, I intend to vote, doesn't actually mean, right, that you go out, right, to vote. But in terms of what the data, right, is actually showing us, there is, Nigerians are reporting that they intend to turn out significantly, right, to vote. Also highly correlated by geopolitical zones. So, for example, in the northwest, the northeast, and in the southeast, 80+% of our respondents say they have their PVCs and they will vote. That number plummets to the low 40% for the northeast and for the southwest, right, which again would be a concern if you're an APC supporter, you're here in the region, you are the president, right, or you are advising him in that sense. But when you square this against the actual reality of how voter turnout has panned out over the last 3 general election cycles, but even during the off-cycle, right, elections, again, we have like a recent test case from literally last weekend, right, in Ekiti, where turnout was not fantastic. Oftentimes, the reality is a lot more complicated in that sense. But in terms of in terms of what voters are saying, a lot of them are, you know, at almost you have a situation where almost 7 in 10, right, and voters are saying that they'll turn out to vote. That's why.
But I'm happy you put that caveat in the beginning.
Oh yeah. It's very important.
Because it varies, and people can change their mind with regards to the current situation where they.
True, and what that means in terms of. In terms of the reality is that what we did with the report is we built out two likely scenarios. A high voter turnout scenario where if we have voter turnout north of 60%, the opposition becomes more competitive because in that case, they are mobilizing blocks of voters who generally do not turn up for the elections, or new voters, right, or voters who are generally motivated to vote against the incumbent. And we have a low voter turnout scenario where if voter turnout is in the 30%, right, then the incumbent does very competitive. Because we've seen this not only in Nigeria, but right across the world. Low voter turnout is highly correlated to how well incumbents do. Your chances of re-election are a lot higher if a lot of people don't show up.
So in plain terms, for people who are saying, I don't care about voting this year, my vote will not count. As we wrap up, what would you say to those who don't want to be a part of the CVR exercise that's wrapping up on the 10th of July? We have a few days, I think less than 2 weeks now, to the end of that. What would you say to them? And why is it important?
It does count. It does count. Your vote matters. Your vote matters. If enough people are disillusioned with the system that they sit on the fence, then the people who are current operators or who currently benefit from the system, right, will statistically do better, right? Yeah. But if a lot more people who generally do not show up during elections or first-time voters, people are collecting their PVCs for the first time and have the opportunity to use them, then the field is a lot broader. You have an option, right, for more political views to be represented, and more candidates are likely to do better than those who are already doing well and are sitting tight right now.
All right, Kimesit, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and kudos to SBM Intelligence. We look forward to seeing further surveys that you will do and seeing if the results will maintain the current reality or if there'd be a change. But let's move on to another conversation now. Vice President Kashim Shettima has directed the immediate activation of a national coordination and early warning platform known as the Fusion and Trigger Room. This is, of course, to strengthen Nigeria's response to flooding as the rainy season intensifies. Chairing a meeting of the Anticipatory Action Task Force in Abuja, the Vice President tasked NIMA, the task force, and other relevant agencies to review approved budgets, set clear implementation priorities, and accelerate the deployment of resources to vulnerable communities before disaster occurs. Meanwhile, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Bernard Doro, described the release of funds for anticipatory flood action as a timely intervention, while the United Nations resident and humanitarian coordinator, Mohamed Fall, commended Nigeria's commitment to protecting lives and livelihoods through early action.
I am directing that technical consultations begin at once to operationalize the Fusion and Trigger Room concept within NEMA as a national platform for coordination and early action. The platform should anchor on monitoring, forecasting, the activation of triggers, the coordination across agencies, and the decisions that follow from them.
As you may also be aware, the National Economic Council graciously approved about 82.3 billion so that we can prepare. So the task force have met today so that arrangements for implementation can be put in place. That's basically why we are meeting today.
As for UN, our role is to be behind the government, support them, bring maybe technical expertise, bring international experience, then also bring some seed money that can show the way. We did it last year, supporting 400,000 people in a state like Adamawa. This year we have a little or a allocation that will be coming to complement what the government has already done.
Now, panic gripped traders, residents and motorists along Upper Siluko Road in Ego local government area of Oyo State after a high-tension electricity cable erupted in flames, sending sparks into the air, disrupting activities in the area. Ameze Bazwai reports that the incident, which lasted for more than 30 minutes, has renewed concerns about the dangers of markets and residential structures located beneath high-voltage power lines.
Many traders at Ego Market in Benin City had barely settled into the day's business when fear swept through the market. Above them, a high-tension cable burned fiercely, forcing them to abandon their goods while residents made efforts to seek cover. Residents say they were startled by a loud sound before a section of the high-tension cable running above the market burst into flames, a frightening reminder of the risks associated with conducting business and erecting structures directly beneath power transmission lines.
The power line just sparked off, and before we know, we saw flame of fire. Everybody was running etasketa.
After a long while, like 20 minutes, then the wire now cut and it fell down on top of all these shades. Because of the iron that was in it, they will start shocking. So people will now start running.
As word of the fire spread, traffic along the busy area slowed to a crawl. Motorists abandoned the route in search of alternative roads, while anxious residents watched from a safe distance. Although no casualties were reported, several residents are now calling on relevant authorities to relocate the market and enforce existing regulations prohibiting development under high-tension installations.
The government should help us to tell our traders, tell our adult women, they should remove the caravan away from under the power line.
Please, government Okpebolo, please, our dad, you need to see to this so that this barbed wire, this power line, they should see something to it. If it's to relocate the market or anything, because life, health is wet.
The government have been giving warning to all community that is not proper for people to live under power line.
Others describe the incident as a disaster narrowly averted, warning that the consequences could have been far worse if the cable had snapped or the flames had spread to the crowded market below.
Thank God that no life was lost. And other people property for market burn small.
If not for God, don't know what will happen to everybody this morning. You just on top of my load, yes, I talk to you. The thing just on top of my load. See, run where I run my leg, they pay me.
At the height of the incident, security personnel were deployed to maintain order and keep residents away from danger, while efforts were made to secure the area. In Edo, for News Central, Ameze Bazwai.
Now, community members in Kawel village of Moshere district in Bokkos local government area of Plateau State have called on the state government to wade into the challenges causing security breaches in their locality. The locals spoke during the condolence visit by Governor Caleb Muchwang after the violent attack on their community that claimed the lives of not less than 20 people, leaving many others injured. News Central's Chizoba Anyonwe was in Bokkos and completes this report.
God will give us victory over these evil people in the name of Jesus.
The Deputy Governor of Plateau State, Josephine Pio, represented the governor in condoling with the victims of the attacks. The community members, especially women dressed in black, chanting songs of sorrow, say they still live in fear of the unknown, with many of them expressing their concerns.
Since the day that they removed our primary rulers, we didn't find it easy. Can governor please consider with us? He's the only one that can bring peace in Moshere.
The peculiarity of the challenges on Moshere Nation has only two projections. One, the upward removal of the king. It is a great factor. Great factor.
They ask government to bring an end to these attacks by wading into their challenges.
We need openness, we demand for justice, we demand for fairness, and we demand for security to be beefed up. And I've earlier mentioned it.
They use fake soldiers and come and claim our life. Can government please come and remove all these soldiers?
Expressing the governor's displeasure and condemning the unprovoked incident, Pio challenged security personnel to redouble their efforts in ensuring peace in the state.
I just want to also plead with the security to be more proactive. If you have been very busy and very active, please do more. Help us. When there is something like an attack like this, please let there be arrest. It will further encourage the people. The people are yours. You are here to protect them. You are here to identify with them. So we want to plead that please, you should do more.
The deputy governor has just left the vicinity where the mourners and the community members had gathered to receive her and to tell them how they feel about the incident and how they want to keep living their lives going forward. Their prayer, their call is that all stakeholders, federal government, state government, security agencies, and indeed all stakeholders in peace building wake up to their responsibilities and redouble their efforts in ensuring maximum peace and the security of both lives and property in Plateau State. In Plateau State, for News Central, Chizoba Anyonwe.
Sad report there from Chizoba, where we can only continue to pray for the souls of those departed in Plateau State. It's been one too many, and the government should step up and do the needful to end this unending cycle of violent extremist crimes in the Plateau. You're watching Breakfast Central. We'll go on a quick break, and when we return, we still have quite a lot to unpack in our final hour. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Today, the 26th day of June, we want to do a very special announcement because someone who's really special to us is celebrating his birthday today. And I'm talking about the MD CEO of News Central Television, Mr. Kayode Akintemi. Happy birthday to our MD, our editor-in-chief, and our visionary leader who has championed the cause of feeling the pulse of the people. You know, very interesting things whenever we have meetings with MD. He would always say to us, you need to ensure. Can the camera please come back to us? Because we need to do this. Oh, I should have come with my scarf. I didn't come with my scarf to properly.
Yeah, that's true.
He would have his scarf and be like, we need to feel the pulse of the people. He always sings it, reminds us without fail.
I mean, he's revolutionized. I'm one of the oldest, one of the dinosaurs in News Central. I'm looking at 6, 7 years collectively, 6 years to be specific. So I knew where we were. I've gone through the journey, and I would say, like, I can tell the impact he's made. He's a transformational leader, and I can testify to, I mean, even the viewers can bear witness to the changes we've witnessed here, positive changes, and I must say, and I would also say he brings out the best in people. He has a knack for spotting talent. He drives you really hard and makes sure you excel. So we're wishing Mr. K, as is affectionately known in this part, a very happy birthday.
Now he's one person that I would say he's very hands-on. You know, he's not just someone that, okay, there's some bosses you work with.
Is handsome and hands-on.
Yes, he's hands-on. Yeah, hands-on and hands-on. Yeah, I need to ring the bell for you. He's really hands-on. Like, you can see him literally pushing for things to happen. Midnight, he's there. Morning, he's there. Afternoon, he's there. Just to ensure that, you know, the dream is achieved. So,
I mean, that grey hair that you're seeing is a symbol of knowledge. It's also a symbol of swag. Our MD is one of the most fashionable MDs.
Yes, so I mean, but it's a no contest. And for his age, I mean, I'm inspired by his fitness regime.
Yes.
I mean, I hope to be this fit when I'm his age.
Just to mention this fit, for those who do not know, he's one of the few people that can go to the gym and lift himself up. He works out more than anybody in News Central Television, and I say that without a shadow of doubt.
But also, it puts us young men.
Yeah, and I must specifically mention the town hall that we do.
Yeah.
He's very particular. That goes back to the core of feeling the pulse of the people. He's leading the town halls to different parts of Nigeria where we're asking the questions that matter to these victims of insecurity, people who need to have their voice heard. So on behalf of all of us, the cast,
you know,
the
I'm
crew,
not even done. He's also revolutionizing news television in the country. And we're part of history, and I'm glad we're part of it. And also to Mr. K, if you're watching, after Breakfast Central, we're coming to your office.
Exactly. We're coming to have breakfast.
Yeah, we should get something.
So happy birthday, MD, from all of us here at Breakfast Central, from all of us at News Central Television. Thank you, and we wish you an absolute year where you continue to be the best version of yourself, lead us to a desirable future, and you continue to glow and grow and shine. Happy birthday, MD. All right, let's now go on a very quick break. And when we come back, it'll be time to bring the news. Chiwetel will be taking us through that. Stay with us.
It's time to bring you the headlines. We start by telling you that Governor Seyi Makinde has approved a 24-hour extension of the curfew imposed on 10 local government areas bordering the Old Oyo National Park. That extension was announced by the Secretary to the State Government, Musbah Babatunde, in a statement issued through the Governor's Special Advisor on Media, Sulaimon Olayewaju. Now, the curfew, initially imposed from 4 p.m. to 8 a.m. for 48 hours, as part of ongoing efforts to support security operations following the abduction of students and teachers in Oyo local government area. With the latest extension, the restrictions will remain in force until Saturday, June 27, 2026. Now, the troops of Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hadinkai have rescued another 53 civilians after dismantling an ISWAP roadblock along the Buratai-Kamuya Road in Biu local government area of Borno State. The operation, according to the acting military information officer, Captain Mohammed Goni, was carried out by troops of the 135 Special Forces Battalion under Sector 2, following intelligence gathered through surveillance cameras that detected terrorists blocking the highway near Dusenkura. The troops, according to the operation spokesperson, rescued 53 civilians held by the terrorists and recovered 8 vehicles seized during the attack. The troops also pursued the fleeing insurgents, cleared their withdrawal routes, and dominated the surrounding area to prevent further attacks. Now, support for proposed establishment of state police has continued to grow, with speakers of 36 State House of Assembly, governors, and several political stakeholders endorsing the constitutional amendment passed by the Senate. The bill, which seeks to decentralize Nigeria's policing system, must now secure approval from at least 24 State Houses of Assembly before it can be transmitted to President Bola Tinubu for assent. Supporters say the reform is a critical step toward addressing terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, and other security challenges through a dual federal and state policing structure. Among those backing the proposal is Hyacinth Aliyah, who described the bill as a landmark reform capable of strengthening the nation's security architecture and improving the protection of lives and property. However, the People's Redemption Party has opposed the proposal, urging Nigerians to reject the move over concerns about its implementation. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. Breakfast Central continues after this.
As Nigeria's digital economy continues to expand, so too do the challenges that threaten consumer trust and online safety. New data shows that Nigeria is now the most spammed country in Africa and the 8th most spammed in the world, with more than 1 in every 2 unknown calls reportedly flagged as spam or potential fraud. And you probably can relate to this as well. Now, while many may see spam calls as little more than an annoyance or an inconvenience, experts warn that the implications run much deeper. This morning, we explore the growing problem of phone spam and fraud in Nigeria. We're looking at its implication for the digital economy and what individuals, families, and businesses can do to protect themselves. And we're joined this morning by the Director of Market Development at Truecaller, Ogo Onwuzurike. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Ogo.
Good morning.
Great to have you join us.
First of all, I think I must applaud Truecaller because I think it was when the advent of Truecaller helped us to see a number of calls before the call comes in. Yep. You know whether to pick up because you can see that red line that says spam, right? So, but for me, I just think to myself automatically, hey, spam, I'll report it. There's no big deal. But it would seem that there's a far-reaching implication. Yes. So please tell us about the far-reaching implication of these spam calls.
I mean, thank you, and thank you for having me this morning. But if we start to think about the far-reaching implication of spam and spam calls, first of all, from a consumer perspective and from a user perspective, the phone now becomes something that people don't want to reach out to. People don't want to touch their phone. You have people that are constantly on silent and all of that. But that is also costly to businesses, to legitimate businesses that genuinely want to reach out to their users. So you see people trying, businesses, leveraging multiple avenues to reach out to their business. So the cost of doing business is, it's become more expensive for businesses to reach their consumers. There's also that erosion of trust in communication. So it's not just, a disturbance. It's also that there are economic implications to these things where legitimate businesses cannot reach their users because users believe that they are being spammed. And then if you think of from a user perspective, when somebody is spammed or somebody is defrauded through the phone, because it is spam and fraud, think of a family and then, the breadwinner is scammed. The implication is far-reaching. There's school fees to be paid. There's money to, there's rent to be paid. So it's not just something that is to be ignored. It's a growing problem, and we need to pay attention to it.
For the sake of our viewers who might not understand the meaning of spam and differentiate between spam and fraud, could you...
Yes, it's a good distinction to make. So a spam call is a call that a user feels like this is noise, this is disturbance. I do not really...
Unwelcome.
Unwelcome calls, So you sort of see the telemarketing calls and, the bothersome calls. That is categorized as spam. But the fraudulent calls are calls that are malicious with the intention to defraud people, to take money from their pockets, impersonating businesses, impersonating people.
Oh, yes.
That's the clear distinction.
Okay, now that you've explained about spam, how come Nigeria has become the most spammed country? What factors have led to that? We're seeing that, according to reports, it's now the most spammed country in Africa. Is it that we have a growing population, or I don't know, what factors do you think could maybe have led to that?
Well, I think there's also a shift in consumer behavior as to what people used to accept as normal. Before telemarketing, you just call people randomly. People do not want that. They term it as disturbance, they term it as noise. So it's now for businesses to understand, how do I communicate to my users? How do I communicate to my base, right? How do I identify myself as a legitimate business in the first place? Because if you knew, for example, that it is your bank that is calling you for the first place, you would think that this is important. And that is why positioning and branding is really, really important for businesses that are looking to reach out to their customers on a broad and a large-scale basis.
So when it comes to, of course, spam and fraud in Nigeria, what are the things that Nigerians should be looking out for from this kind of calls at this point in time?
Well, I mean, when it comes to fraud, what we see, the trends we see is that the scam and the fraud, they are getting better at what we call credibility engineering. So that when they put out that call to you, they make it sound as credible as possible. I'm calling from this institution, I'm calling from XYZ place. They make it sound as credible as possible. So on a basic level, a caller ID app like Truecaller saves you the stress. You understand what I mean? The first thing is, who is even calling me? How do I know who is calling me? And then it takes you, if you feel like taking the call in the first, you want to take the call, then you can take the call. But if you feel this is not worth my time, then you can say, and that's what we do. We make sure that we label these calls properly and all of that. So that's the first thing, people need to know. Also, you need to also understand that fraud and scam, thrives in urgency and pressure. So when you get that call and someone is saying, you need to quickly send your OTP, or there's this emergency, those are the things that you need to sort of know that these are fraud tactics, these are fraud
telltale signs.
Telltale signs of fraud.
So there's one that happened. There's one that's quite common to me, what I've experienced, and I'm not trying to no disrespect to any tribe, but there's one that always happens. I always get this call from someone from the north every time. And I don't know this person from anywhere. I just pick up the call, I hear that language, you call again. Is that the same thing as a spam call?
Well, it could be a network glitch. It could just be a network glitch in that instance. Maybe the person is trying to, call somebody else, but there is a network glitch in this particular instance. But you also see that another thing that you need to do is also educate, because the people that are most vulnerable to scam and fraud are the older people. Think of, in your family, who could be susceptible to fraud and scam. So it's the older generation, our moms, our dads, who are not so tech savvy, And we have the opportunity to protect them even from our own devices now. So you can protect your mom, you can protect your siblings from your own devices and make sure that you see the type of calls that they are getting. If it's a spam call, you can remotely hang up the call from them from your own phone if they are getting a fraudulent call.
Now, you made a submission earlier. I would like you to deep dive into it, because you did mention the economic implication of this, and there are genuine businesses that want to leverage on, these phone calls to market their businesses, to do other things with regards to the business. How do we think of this not just as a nuisance, but an economic problem?
Yeah. That's a very good question. So the first thing that we need to understand that we are mobile first economies. A lot of services, a lot of businesses are done through the phone. So if a bank, for example, onboarding, OTP, verifications are done through the phone. So, and that's why I talked about, scammers doing credibility engineering. They follow that same pattern to sort of mirror what a legitimate business would do. So if in the event that people take over these scenarios and all of that, we need to understand as a country, what is the cost of for businesses, if they cannot reach you through the phone, they have to maybe send an email, they have to get customer support and all of that. That is increasing the cost of business and erosion of trust. So legitimate businesses cannot put themselves out there. And that's why the spam and fraud problem has to be looked at from an economic point of view. And businesses start to train themselves, train their staff. How do we communicate and how do we position ourselves properly so that the consumers do not see us as noise? That is a whole, and we support all of that with businesses.
Okay, what's Truecaller's vision for being able to solve this problem for Nigeria? And what would you say meaningful progress would look like for you in the next maybe 1 to 2 years?
Truecaller is a well-loved brand, not just in Nigeria, across the sub-Saharan African markets. We've seen great user adoption. We've seen great, adoption across the market. Our vision is to continue to make communication safe, smarter, and efficient. That is across, whether it's person-to-person communication, whether it's business to B2C communication, whether it's B2B communication. We empower the users, we empower businesses to ensure that you are who you say you are, and the public, the users, the population, know exactly who is calling them and prevent people from losing money from scams and fraud. But essentially, our mission remains to make communication safe, to make it smart, and to make it efficient. That's where we sit.
All right, to make communication safe, smart, and
efficient.
Wonderful.
Like that.
Okay, I also know that, for those of us who use Truecaller, it's now becoming subconsciously, it's becoming a default phone contact app for a number of people. Yeah. And I'll say congratulations and kudos on that.
I'm sure all of us here use Truecaller. Of course.
Thank you.
When you don't know who is calling, and you're like, you just quickly see the name. Sometimes even, let me give you a little bit of expo for business. When some clients are calling me, I can just see who is calling quickly and find out, okay,
what do they want?
They probably have an event coming. I can quickly research the event. So I'm going into the call with proper information.
You're empowered, and you're empowered. And that's what we want to help you, empower businesses, empower individuals, take the decisions you want to take once you see that call coming through.
But from a business point of view, how can customers identify when a genuine company is calling them?
Yeah, and this is one way we are partnering with a lot of businesses. We have a solution called Verified Caller ID, Verified Business. So typically on Truecaller, on the consumer side of things, if I'm calling you, it will show the blue tag, right? If a business is calling you, we have the Verified Caller solution. And a lot of banks, a lot of financial institutions are adopting it now. So it comes with the green tag. It shows you this is the bank that is calling you. This is verified. This is the institution. Some even take it as far. We take it as far as tell you why we are calling you. Oh, your KYC is there's something wrong with your KYC. Oh, this is an important call. You need to take it. So we are also empowering a lot of businesses to position themselves correctly and brand themselves rightly in the market so that they don't lose all those economic opportunities that get lost in the noise and with the fraudsters, you know.
You don't go and decline the call of your helper.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, so we look forward to seeing that. My question with that, so when the registered verified businesses have that green tag, what if, for example, some consumers are still upset that why is my bank calling me? Is there a possibility that they can still report them as scam, and how will that impact them?
No. So when you are registered as a verified business, of course, we would have done your KYC. We know that you're on our own side. Yeah, we know that this is a legitimate business. There is a legitimate brand. We would have done our own due diligence on our own side. So you cannot maliciously mark a legitimate business as spam. And let me speak to that spam marking, because people just think, oh, one person has to mark a number. I mean, I can be malicious and just mark her as spam because maybe I'm owing her some money and I don't want to pay and be malicious. But that's not the way Truecaller marks. It takes more than one person.
Oh, so there have been multiple
There
reports.
has to be. There's a lot of reports. There's a lot of intelligence. There's a lot of machine learning. There's a lot of algorithm. There's a lot that goes on. And it has to be from millions of people reporting that same number as scam. What you need to understand is that a legitimate phone number acts differently from a fraudulent phone numbers. The signals from the back end are totally different. So we also want legitimate businesses to thrive, to prosper, and for legitimate individuals who are just making calls to be able to pass their communication. So it's not just one person marking another number as spam and then we just know. There's a lot of intelligence that goes behind the scene before that happens.
Sounds really great. We look forward to seeing the progress that Truecaller will make in the coming years, and especially the problems that it will be solving for Nigerians, because that's a very, very needed one.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time with us this morning.
Thank
we look
you.
forward to having further conversations.
It was great to be here. Thank you so much.
All right. We hope that you can do what's best for you and your businesses. Ensure that you have your verification with Truecaller if you're a business, and that would help, especially those ones that used to call to ask for feedback. Please, Ma, it's not a good time to talk. We'd like to ask you about your experience.
I don't have time.
No, you should try to make time, because that will help the consumer experience.
Just call me on Sunday afternoon when I'm back from church.
We're going to break now. When we come back, we have more to look at this morning. We have the newspapers to review as well, so please stay with us.
You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. It's now time for us to look at the big stories making headlines today. And joining us for this analysis is one of my favorite political affairs analysts, Mr. Dr. Ojon. A warm welcome to you.
Good morning.
Before we start, I'd like to say something. That maybe you've not heard it before.
You are my favorite.
One of, in fact, my favorite analyst.
Again.
Yeah.
For now.
For now.
I like that for now.
Okay, let's get into the business of the day and start with the review of the front pages. Al Jazeera newspaper is our first today. And on the front page of Al Jazeera newspaper, we can see the big story there. Reactions trail passage of state police bill. Nigerians deserve policing systems, policing structure that understands local terrain and evolving security realities. Conference of Speakers. PRP expresses reservations. To tackle kidnappings require new thinking, says Chief of Army Staff. PDP to move through 2027 elections will be about performance, not intimidation. Kaduna, crisis rocks ADC. After primary election, as members file 49 petitions. 4,399 households benefit from CARES relief food program in Kebbi. NCDC rejects Public Health Institute bill. We can see here that the NFCTA, I can't see that very clearly. I think I'll just skip that one. CBN directs banks to freeze account assets of BDCs linked to terrorism. Of course, you would assume that that one is a no-brainer. Let's start with the big story. And the big story here is about the reactions trailing passage of state police bill. We've crossed one end of the Rubicon. We have the state houses of assembly to two-thirds. We're almost there. And then the assent of the president. But let's get your thoughts. Are you excited about this?
Yes, excited. Anything that brings hope as far as security is concerned in Nigeria is something to be excited about, though there are reservations here and there.
Right.
But like any system that is run by a man, you expect that there will be areas that will need to be worked on. But if you ask me, the level of my excitement is actually about 90% at the moment.
Okay, that's a good score. That's an A.
So when people talk about the funding, because as the current structure of which the Nigerian police exists, they are bedeviled with a lot of problems. Welfare, morale, so many other issues, weapons. How is this going to change that? The introduction of state policing. Where's the money going to come from?
Okay, so governors
funded to make it effective.
Yes.
And this is going to be the responsibility of the states. And states are already finding it difficult to pay 70,000 minimum wage.
Yeah. So governance is about 6 Ps. You talk about the program, the policy of government. You talk about priority of government. Then you talk about prosperity and poverty of the people. So the program of government, that is where prioritize will lead to the prosperity of the people. If you don't set your priority very well, it leads to the poverty of the people. So what we have presently, I was doing a program for a state government, a policy program, and I call it SET, Security, Entrepreneurship and Technology. And they were engaging me at the level of the government house. And I said the most important thing at the moment is the issue of security. Because if you solve the problem of security, your economic policy will make more money to the people. What we have at this moment, there's a huge disconnect between what government is doing and what the people think the government is doing. And one of the reasons is because of security. For example, government can say, oh, I've spent 1 trillion naira on agriculture to support farmers and all of that. But farmers are saying we cannot go to the farms because of insecurity. So now it's now time for state government to begin to prioritize what they spend their money on. And permit me to say this, and I take absolute responsibility on it. The money spent on good cause at level of the state is nothing compared to the money that escapes into private pocket. In fact, I have repeatedly said it, that if you have one opportunity to steal from government, every other work will look like stress to you. It means that when we begin to block loopholes, we will have more money to do all of these things. The problem of more money has always been the problem in government. And particularly when APC came in 2015, one of the things I said is that APC came with an MMM mindset. MMM mindset is more money mysteries. Tax the people, will get more money and will deliver more projects. But usually it doesn't work like that. If you get more money and you do not prioritize what you use the money for, at the end of the day, it will look as if you are making more money for the pocket of people. So what I'm saying is that when they block loopholes, when they prioritize their program and policy, there will be more money for them to spend on state police. At the moment, money is no longer challenged. In fact, the money that went to the local government that, quote unquote, I will use the word kidnapped by some of the state government, between when President Tinubu got there and now, has gone up to close to about 40-something%. In fact, at a point, it hit a record that we've never recorded in Nigeria. I'm talking about the amount. I'm not talking about the value. So in terms of the amount of money that they have access to. So I think there's money to do what is necessary. And anytime any government wants to do something that is committed to, you will see speed and they will get it achieved.
If they follow your 6 Ps, especially priority.
Okay, that's a very, very important one that you've highlighted there. But I want to see if we can take as many stories on all the front pages. Let's quickly move to the next one because we don't have a lot of time. The Guardian, I believe, just to mention, we're streaming live on YouTube, News Central TV Live. You can drop your comments there and we'll take it as...
You can also call in. The number is right there on your screen.
Let's go through. If Chiwetel can take us through the next paper, let's look at The Guardian.
The Guardian, the major headline here is posers over ex-governors push for legislative seats. High petrol prices persist as Nigeria faces $11.5 billion crude oil loss. A power debt row deepens as Gencos challenge ministers' 50 billion payment claim. Appeal court to hear ADC other suits against deregistration in July. Ramaphosa denounces xenophobia as more Nigerians, others leave South Africa. Atiku, PRP, Falana raise concerns as LP Afenifere Sanwo-Olu back move. Army police reject fresh moves to deploy repentant terrorists. INEC yet to get 2027 election funds 21 days to deadline.
Okay.
CBN freezes accounts linked to terrorism financiers, seeks enhanced monitoring. Interesting. I think we should focus on the major story, which is ex-governor's push for legislative seats. Some people have said that there might be a need for some level of experience in governance, and so it's okay for governors to move, of course, from being governors to find a way into the legislative arm of government. What's your take on that?
Okay, so and is it, because the headline there says, is it really for service or comfortable sanctuary?
Some even call it like a retirement home for them.
Yes.
Political retirement
legislative comfort that provides security allowances, influence, and relevance.
Okay, so I'm not sure about... one of the things that the legislative arm is known for is it's very high on the issue of experience, and that's why you don't have a time limit. They want people to... in fact, at the point Pelosi...
Nancy
Pelosi was in the National Assembly, in the Assembly for close to 26 years. So they require experience. But having said
legislative experience.
Having said that, if you cannot turn your state around as an executive governor, you cannot do anything at the Senate. The way Nigeria is programmed today, in fact, it is better if you have a very good local government chairman. He will make more impact than a sitting senator or a House of Reps member. So it tells you that the power to execute remains with the executive. They have the opportunity to turn around quickly the life of the people, not just through legislative policies, but through main executive action. So if anybody is a governor and he didn't turn around the state, then there will be a question mark on his intention to go from executive, that you have more power to execute project and touch the life of the people, to going back to the legislative distance. But let me tell you why a lot of people do that. In Nigeria, we build safe and we leave the system. And the system can frustrate anybody without political power. For instance, you can wake up for a flight of 7 a.m. now and get to the airport. You won't get to leave until 11 a.m. and nobody is going to tell you anything. So even our police system, you get out there now, they ask you all manner of questions. So the system in Nigeria is meant to frustrate people without political power. So instead of living as governor, you know the governor will promote you to a certain level. Now, when you leave it, when you leave that position, you become an ordinary person. That frustration is still in the community. You are still going to see it. So the best way to escape that kind of frustration is to move from one aspect of government to the other so that you retain some kind of power. And I said it again, that the fight, for instance, that broke out between Fubara and his godfather would have been won in the first year by the sitting governor. First year. If the former governor did not have some kind of political backing and power that he has today. So nobody wants to live in Nigeria as a politician without political power. And that's why you see APC is bad, APC is bad, APC is bad. Tomorrow, even those people who are singing APC is bad, tomorrow they decamp to APC. Because they know that the only way, and I say taking responsibility, to survive in Nigeria today is to have some kind of political power.
It's not to be an ordinary minister.
Yes, then to revert to what I said before. If you have an opportunity, sir, to steal money from government just once, every other job will look like stress to you. So none of them is willing to retire and go back to farm.
But that's a dysfunctional system. We need to change it.
So we need to work on the system. Unfortunately,
but who will change you? Can it change from within?
We keep talking about self other than the system.
Okay.
Okay, you asked a question, and I think I need to also put responsibility on the shoulders of Nigeria. You see, if I belong to a system that is benefiting me...
The Nigerians that are dancing with...
Hold on, sir. If I belong to a system that is favoring me, I will not do anything to change it. I'll just be looking at the system because as long as it favors me, there's nothing to change in it. So it is those people that are not enjoying the system, those people that the system is not benefiting, that are supposed to change the system, but they are collecting 5K now. And they will come back to say APC is bad, APC is bad. They will queue again and they will collect 5K, they will vote. It's like our brain always goes on recess on the day of election. We only press a reset after we might have voted the wrong set of people into office.
Does democracy function in a country that has high dimensions of poverty? Because by saying that, they've weaponized the poverty in the country and then the democracy becomes an auction. Would you really get quality leadership in this sort of environment? Maybe that's what's affecting us.
Okay, so I think our own case is...
Or is it by design?
No, our own case is extremely a hopeful one. It's not completely hopeless because if you look at the data, and I'm talking to data now, you discover that there has never been a time that 40% of Nigerians went out to ballot to cast their vote. It means that we still have a chunk of people who have not participated at all in the electionary process. And who are these people? Probably you and I, a few people on this table. Who are these people? Civil servants who don't go out. They are middle-class people. So how do we solve this problem? Populate the process with people who have brain, not people who go and scoop fuel when tanker fall. When you populate these people, they will overpower the current level of illiteracy that pervades our electoral process. And until we do that, we'll continue to have the worst of us rule the best of us, because the worst of us will also go there to cast election and collect 5,000 and come and dance a tigi on TikTok.
That's Olive's best dance. By the way, if you want to see it, follow her to the club this night in Agungi.
I don't do such. You are the one that will come to.
You did say we should populate the Dotun is laughing so hard.
You discotheque man.
That vision of seeing you.
Are we going to read the final paper or not today?
In a club in Agungi.
Are we going to read the final paper or not?
Okay, let's take a look at the final newspaper we have here today. That's the Tribune. Yeah. A different type of headline here, and I find it really interesting because it's one thing to have things on paper, it's another thing to implement. Local government autonomy, state police. Stakeholders put governors on the spot. State police will protect. The rider says state police will protect persecuted Nigerian Christians, says U.S. lawmaker Riley Moore. Speakers reaffirm State Assembly's commitment to state police. LP urges governors, state assemblies to be above partisanship and back the bill. Tinubu's government can be trusted with state police, says the People's Redemption Party. Federal government to review minimum wage. That's good news, says Femi Gbajabiamila, the Secretary of State,
Chief of Staff
to Mr. President. It says 70,000 naira is not in tune with current economic realities. And I'm sure a lot of people will agree with that. But we should put a timeline to it, and also speak about the amount they're proposing. What will be a legitimate minimum wage, looking at present economic realities? Appeal Court adjourns hearing in suit against the registration of ADC Accord 3 others till July 7. I can imagine the tension in a state like Osun State, where the government is in Accord party, is worried about getting re-elected, and then you have this tension and this suit hanging. CBN orders banks to freeze assets of BDC's 6 individuals over alleged terrorism funding. Former security guard planned executed murder of ex-OGTV broadcaster, says the police. Very, very sad one there. And Tinubu harps on rebirth of national assets, inaugurates remodeled 154 premier hotel, 54-bed premier hotel, promises a safe release of Orire kidnapped students. It's been more than 40 days. I think Nigerians are tired of promises. They want to see action. And INEC opens candidates nomination portal tomorrow. 2 dead, 16 rescued, as yet again another building collapsed in Lagos. Let's talk about the minimum wage, Mr. Dotun or John. The government has said something that, 70,000 naira is not in tune with current economic realities. It's this cheerful news.
Okay, I think this is the first time that I am hearing or I'm seeing that the government truly understands the economic reality in the community. Because last week, the special advisor to the president on information and strategy had granted an interview where he said that he's not seeing this poverty that people are talking about. All he's seeing is, I don't know, he traveled to, what's it called, Djibouti. He saw that the road has been made. He never gave credit to us because we mentioned the road repeatedly here after the Ojude Oba festival. So now for the chief of staff of the president to be coming out to say that 70,000 naira is actually not fit for the current economic reality, it has shown me that for the first time, somebody in government actually understands the reality in the marketplace. See, was I expecting President Tinubu to turn around the poverty level of the country? Antecedent, fact, figure. We support the fact that the president has a limited capacity to bring people out of poverty, though he has a capacity to build an economy. Now, these are two things. If you get to the Nigeria Stock Exchange today, it is booming. It is booming. If you check the level of the foreign direct investment into Nigeria today, it is doing well. He has the capacity to do all of this, but he does not have the capacity to bring people out of poverty. So we talk about the microeconomy and the macroeconomy.
Well, that's
repeatedly. Yes, it doesn't have. Now, when you talk about, when people say the president turned around Lagos, one of the major projects they will talk about is the Atlantic City. I don't know whether you've heard that conversation. Yeah. Go price a piece of land there.
It's not affordable for the average Nigerian.
He has the capacity to turn the economy around, but picking people out of poverty is something that he has not done because he's an IMF kind of economist. What does IMF believe in? Bring more money, develop your infrastructure and all of that. It doesn't matter whether people cannot feed or they cannot feed. They can feed. So when somebody from the government now is now coming out to say, oh, we understand the reality, it gives me a lot of joy. Now, in Nigeria, it's a complicated issue. Between 2023 and 2024, 10-point-something million people fell under the poverty line. Nobody is having that conversation. How do we bring them out? Bailout is deliberate. Bailout is strategic. And bailout has to be futuristic. It is not to win election. When you dash people money, you are calling them back to ballot to cast ballot for you on the day of election. But when you put a strategic plan in place, number one, we can be talking about communal farming. Like every local government, have your own farm. By the time in Yoruba, they say when you have access to food, you have reduced the level of poverty. Now today, as we speak now, there's no average civil servant who has a vehicle, who can fuel the vehicle. In fact, there's a radio and television station in the Southwest where nobody drives vehicle again because they cannot afford it. So what we are saying is that in 2014, the United Nations had suggested that we need to put more resources into the hand of people living in abject poverty if we ever intend to solve the problem of poverty in sub-Saharan Africa. But what we do now is the way around. We put more money in the pocket of those who have, because we are thinking that when they have more, we are going to create an impression of figure. And I've defined democracy as a government of fact and feeling. No, a government of figure and feeling. In between the figure and the feeling, you will get the fact. Now, when you say your figure is saying that people are living poverty, what is the feeling of the people on the street? When you match these two together, you get the definition of democracy. As we have it now, the issue of bringing out people from poverty should be paramount to the government of the day. And it's not just about handing down money to them. It must be strategic.
About what the First Lady said yesterday, the kuli and roasted corn, that they've given grants to people to empower them.
They will even buy it. People that you are targeting. You see, it's a good idea. Roast corn and sell it. Do kuli and sell it. But the people at your level, we buy from you and they cannot afford to pay back.
In response to what you have said about democracy, OA had said democracy is not working in Nigeria, and I think this is by design. It's a shame in a country of intellectuals that thrive in diaspora. Extreme poverty is a major reason democracy is not working. 7 out of 10 black doctors in the US are Nigerian, yet Nigeria's healthcare system is comatose. What an irony. That's the way that we're wrapping up the show today, and that's something to ponder and reflect upon. But the conversations don't end here. Jasiri comes up next, and of course, Breakfast Extra will be here over the course of the weekend. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you, Dr. Ojo.
Thank you for having me always.
Thank you, Chirinto. And
I was still going to
see you later.
I'm not with you.